First of all, not being a designer begs the sort of question that what is designerly? So when the question comes up, I'm not quite sure how to reflect on that. But my sort of the understanding that I've come to by being around the group of people within the AOD is that, in my then view, is that I'm sort of a disruptor, a question that's taken for granted. So much my line of research comes from training, performance, and culture. And in that perspective, I'm looking for what are those ideas that we take for granted in our everyday life? Because a lot of people think that we have that performance culture is something that belongs to the elite, but that's not true. All of us have a way of doing our performances. So all of us are embedded in some kind of culture or embody some kind of culture that drags us in a certain direction when we perform. So I'm curious about what are those things in that culture that we take for granted so that we're able to perform. And in that, from that, by asking those questions and challenging those assumptions, I guess that we start to build awareness in a manner that helps us ask different questions, new questions, that then again starts building a new structure, a new way of doing, or something like that. I've been fortunate enough to be a part of different groups of people where my presence have been appreciated in the sense that our group has grown over the years. Grown in the sense that matured, in the sense that we have evolved into something that has had an impact on people outside of ourselves. So it's the most meaningful part for me are those moments, those situations, those processes where we by challenging ourselves in manners in a manner that discusses a certain subject matter in a way that actually takes us to in a new direction, and it brings out something that we haven't seen before. It brings out a new flavor. It doesn't have to be completely new like a revolution, but it adds to the situation we're in, or it brings a different kind of strand out of it, something that opens our mindset to think differently about what we're doing. It will be an open culture, a culture that had few boundaries, where there were those who come there would be met with curiosity. There would be people coming in and going out. At the same time, there would be some inhabitants that had been there for many years. They have long history, not only like in the sense that 10 or 15 years, but they've had heritage there. So they've grown up there and their ancestors have grown up there. But at the same time, they are welcoming foreigners that have seen the world in other ways, looking at different things. And the pubs and bars would be full of people discussing where what is this in your country? So the curiosity would be the driver in it. Somebody who would like to facilitate for others to come up with their ideas, or to stage their ideas, or fund their ideas, or I don't know. Hopefully I would be supportive of others. I think the AOD, the most important part for the AOD is to be something for somebody, in the sense that it's like a oasis. It's the water. It's a place to come and drink the elixir, so that when you go back into your own isolation, because you are isolated in the environments that we work, you are invigorated, you're energized. It's not that you bring home a product as such, but it's more that after 3 days in Toronto, I'm sort of relieved, and I'm happy to go home, and I'm bringing something with me that makes me tick again. Not necessarily again, but makes it easier to keep on doing what you're doing, being that disruptive person. Because I think within the military context, I think there is a exhaustive challenge to be the disruptor, because being the disruptor is like being a grain of sand in the shoes. It's itchy. It's and you don't want to be that. But you have to. But sometimes you have to. So having that oasis on the outside, where you can come and get that sort of extra, you see that you're not alone. You got a new idea in a discussion, somebody said something, and you sort of associate with it in some way. So then AOD, the value of AOD becomes sort of, how do we stage that kind of connection, that interaction? How can we sort of facilitate for those things to happen?